Hi everyone, this is R. Grace Rodriguez from the law offices of R. Grace Rodriguez here in Chatsworth, California. The following is not intended to be legal advice, but is purely for legal entertainment only. If you have a legal problem, be sure to consult with an attorney. That being said, today's video is on how do I settle a debt when I'm trying to avoid bankruptcy. So the first advice I want to give to you is to let you know that it would be a shame if only some of your creditors settled with you and the rest of your creditors continue to aggressively pursue your debt. Well, the end result would be is you'd settle with a few, but then you would end up having to file bankruptcy anyway for the other creditors who weren't willing to settle with you. So careful attention should be paid to how much debt you owe, and are you reasonably going to be able to settle with everybody to avoid bankruptcy? If you can't settle with everyone, chances are you might be better off filing bankruptcy if you don't have very many assets and your income is not very good. Of course, you can always call us and we can make that determination for you. But let's say, for example, you don't have a lot of credit card debt, or you only have one really large debt that's troubling you. You may want to consider working out a settlement agreement. Well, there's several issues you want to pay attention to when you're working with that creditor. First of all, you want to make sure that the last time that you paid anything on that debt or were charged anything on that debt was less than 4 years ago. Why? Because there's a statute of limitations that if they haven't sued you on that debt within 4 years, then they may have lost their right to ever come after you on that debt. They may call you and tell you you still owe it, but they won't be able to enforce any kind of lawsuit against you if it's been more than 4 years. So with that being said, do not enter into a settlement agreement on a debt that's more than 4 years old, because you will create a new contract, and a new contract will trigger another 4-year period that you're going to have to pay. So don't do that to yourself. Save yourself the trouble. Think about how far back the debt goes before you make an agreement to pay it. The next area that you should watch out for is you should discuss with the creditor if they're willing to remove all negative reporting on your credit once you pay the settlement with them. That's a very important benefit to have if it will help you clean up your credit record. Next, you want to pay attention to whether the creditor is going to issue a 1099 and treat all of the debt that they just settled with you, that whatever they have forgiven, they're going to treat it like income. If you file a tax return and you don't include that income, you're asking for the IRS to come and ask you some questions. So it's very important to know whether that creditor is going to issue a 1099 to you and be able to, and you'll have to include that as income on your tax return. Another important area to ask the creditor who's seeking out whether or not they'll settle with you or not is to find out if you're talking to the right people. In this day and age, we've had so much data that's been breached and stolen from credit reporting agencies. It would not surprise me that somebody who had no authority to collect on one of your debts is just calling you based on the information they found in your old credit profile. And they may not have any authority to collect the debt at all, and they may just be calling you to harass you. So be careful with that one. You may not actually owe that particular company the debt. Ask to see an assignment of that debt to make sure they in fact are the people that have the right to collect on that debt. And a quick internet search in Google or your favorite search engine should reveal very quickly if there's a scam going around regarding a collection agency who doesn't have authority to collect on a debt. So when you're dealing with a collection agency, maybe do a Google search to see if there's been any fraud involving that particular agency. The next area that you should pay attention to is you should always ask the person that you're communicating with, has there been a lawsuit already filed against me? Well, obviously, if a lawsuit hasn't been filed against you, you would want to include something in the agreement with that person that they're not going to ever file a lawsuit against you on the case. Second, if there's already a lawsuit filed against you, then you'd want to know if a default has been taken or not. A default means that they served you with the lawsuit and they already have a judgment against you. If they have a judgment against you, you may want to talk to them about vacating that default judgment and proceeding with your settlement. Otherwise, you need to ask, are they going to file what's called a acknowledgement of satisfaction of judgment once you pay the settlement? Because that's a form that they can use to report to the world that, in fact, even though you didn't pay the full balance, you've settled it to their satisfaction. And that's what the satisfaction of judgment refers to. Finally, if there has been a lawsuit filed, but there's been no judgment taken, then you want to make sure whatever settlement agreement that you have with them indicates that that case will be dismissed. There's a lot of other variables that could come into play that are too specific to cases where I wouldn't need to go into them in a video like this. But this will get you started in terms of having a good amount of knowledge on how to proceed with settling your debt with creditors and collection agencies. Hopefully you found this information valuable, and if we can be of any further service to you, please do not hesitate to give us a call, 818-734-7223. We are happy to strategize with you. Have a wonderful day.